The hum of cicadas filled the air, and the smell of fresh barbecue drifted lazily across my backyard. I stood by the grill, flipping burgers, my grandkids splashing and laughing in the pool just a few feet away. It was the kind of summer day I had dreamed of when I bought this house, a place of peace, family, and memories. But peace, as I would soon learn, doesn't last long when you've got a Karen next door. Her name was Linda, though she insisted everyone call her Madam President because she was the head of our HOA, the kind of woman who measured your grass with a ruler and wrote up fines if your trash bin was visible for more than 30 minutes. I never wanted trouble. At my age, I wanted nothing more than to enjoy the retirement I had worked so hard for. But trouble has a way of knocking on your door when you least expect it, and that knock came. One Sunday afternoon, right in the middle of my family barbecue knock, K-N-O-C-K. It wasn't a polite tap. It was the kind of knock that made your stomach drop. I wiped my hands on a towel and opened the gate, only to find Karen, arms crossed, sunglasses perched on her nose, lips pursed like she had swallowed a lemon. "Good afternoon," I said, forcing a smile. "Can I help you?" "You certainly can," she snapped. "This pool," she gestured dramatically at my backyard, "is in violation of HOA standards. You didn't file for proper approval. It must be removed immediately." I blinked at her, stunned. "Karen, the pool came with the house when I bought it. It's been here for over 20 years. You can't just decide." "Actually, I can," she cut me off, smirking. "As president of this HOA, I have the authority to seize control of community violations. This pool now falls under our jurisdiction, meaning it belongs to the HOA." My jaw dropped. "Excuse me? Did you just say my pool belongs to the HOA?" "You heard me," she said, her voice cold. "Pack up your little barbecue, because from now on, this is shared property." Behind me, my wife gasped. My grandkids stopped splashing. The cheerful sounds of the afternoon froze into silence. I stepped closer, my voice low but firm. "Listen, lady. This is my private property. Paid for, signed, and deeded in my name. You and your HOA don't own a single tile of this pool." Karen smirked, pulling out a clipboard like she was ready to sign over my life. "We'll see what the board says." And with that, she strutted away, her heels clacking against the pavement like a judge hammering down a gavel. My daughter, Emily, came over, shaking her head. "Dad, she can't do this, right?" I tried to sound calm for her sake. "No, sweetheart. She's bluffing. She just wants to scare us." Deep down, I had a sinking feeling this was just the beginning. 2 days later, I found it in my mailbox. Notice of seizure, effective immediately. The pool located at my address is considered common HOA property. Usage by the individual homeowner is strictly prohibited until further review by the board. Signed, Linda, HOA President. I crumpled the letter in my hand, my chest burning with anger. She wasn't bluffing. She was actually trying to take my pool. My wife, gentle as always, placed a hand on my arm. "Honey, don't let her ruin this. Let's just call a lawyer." I nodded, but before I could make that call, Karen decided to escalate things herself. That Friday evening, I came home from the hardware store with supplies for the barbecue I was hosting the next day. And what did I see? Karen, with a group of HOA members. Standing inside my backyard, gate pointing, measuring, and even dipping a foot into my pool like it already belonged to her. I stormed over. "What the hell do you think you're doing on my property?" Karen turned, completely unfazed. "As of this week, this is HOA property. We're assessing it for community use." "Community use?" I shouted. "This is my private pool. Get out now, or I'll call the sheriff." Karen smirked, leaning close. "Go ahead, call them. Let's see whose side they take," an old man clinging to his yard. "Or the homeowners association." Her words cut deep, but I refused to let her see fear. "You've just crossed a line, Karen. You trespassed on private property. You'll regret this." She laughed. Actually laughed. And then led her little crew out like she was the queen of the neighborhood that night. As I sat on the porch staring at my pool, anger boiling inside me. My wife sat beside me. "You can't let her take this away from you," she whispered. "This pool isn't just water and tiles. It's memories. It's our family." I nodded, swallowing hard. She was right. The next day was my big barbecue, a tradition I had every summer. Friends, family, neighbors, all coming together around that pool. And this year, more than ever, I needed to show Karen that she couldn't scare me away from my own home. Little did I know, barbecue would end in chaos. With police sirens, with Karen's screaming echoing across the street, and with handcuffs clicking shut on her wrists. The sun was high, the air smelled of grilled ribs and sweet corn, and laughter filled the backyard. My family, my neighbors, even some old friends had gathered for the annual barbecue. My grandkids splashed in the pool, their giggles making the whole place feel alive. But underneath that joy, I carried a storm inside me, because I knew Karen wouldn't let this day go without making her presence known, and I was right, as I handed a plate of burgers to Emily. My daughter, she leaned close and whispered, "Dad, what if she shows up today?" I sighed. "Then she'll learn this isn't her playground. This is my home. Not from fear, no. From anger, from exhaustion, from the sheer absurdity of having to defend what was already mine." The music played. Kids ran around with water balloons. My wife hummed as she set out pies. For a brief moment, I let myself believe maybe, just maybe, Karen would keep away. Then it happened. The screech of tires cut through the laughter. Heads turned. Conversations stopped, and there she was. Karen, marching down the sidewalk in her pastel blazer and oversized sunglasses, clipboard tucked under her arm like a weapon. Behind her trailed to other HOA board members, holding phones like they were documenting a crime scene. My heart sank, but I stepped forward. "Karen, you're not invited. Leave," she smirked, brushing past me. "This is community property, and I'm here to ensure its fair use." "Community property?" One of my neighbors scoffed. "That's his pool, Karen. You've lost your mind." Karen spun around, pointing a finger like a dagger. "Mind your business. This entire neighborhood falls under HOA jurisdiction. If he refuses to comply, he'll face fines, liens, and removal." My wife's voice trembled, but it was steady with anger. "Karen, please. This is our family gathering. Don't ruin it for the children." But Karen only sneered. "Then you shouldn't have violated HOA rules. The pool is ours now, and I'll prove it." And with that, she kicked off her shoes and jumped straight into my pool. The crowd gasped. Some even laughed in disbelief. My grandkids screamed and scrambled out of the water. Karen paddled to the middle, splashing like she owned the place. She shouted, her voice echoing, "HOA members have equal rights. This pool belongs to the community." I clenched my fists. "Get out of my pool, Karen. Now." Instead, she waved her clipboard like a flag of victory. "This is official business." One of my friends muttered, "She's gone completely insane." I grabbed my phone and dialed. My voice was low but firm. "Sheriff's office." "Yeah, I need an officer here. We've got a trespasser refusing to leave my property." 20 minutes later, the familiar sound of sirens rolled down the street. Relief washed over me as a black and white patrol SUV pulled up. Out stepped Sheriff Daniels, a tall man with a calm, commanding presence who had known my family for years. "Afternoon, folks," he said, surveying the crowd. Then his eyes landed on the pool. "Linda, what in God's name are you doing?" Karen, dripping wet, raised her chin proudly. "Sheriff, thank goodness you're here. This man is illegally monopolizing a pool that belongs to the HOA. I'm enforcing community rights." Sheriff Daniels raised an eyebrow. "Community rights? Lady, this pool is on private property. It belongs to him." Karen's smirk faltered. "That's not true. The HOA bylaws don't override state property law," Daniels cut in, his voice sharp. "Linda, you're trespassing. Get out of the pool," the crowd murmured. My wife squeezed my hand, relief in her eyes. "But Karen didn't take orders well. No," she screamed, thrashing water everywhere. "You're all against me. This neighborhood is a disaster because nobody respects the rules. And now I'm being attacked for doing my job. Linda, Sheriff Daniels warned, his hand resting on his belt. Step out of the pool, now, or I'll have no choice but to escort you out in cuffs. The moment hung heavy. Everyone held their breath, and then Karen made her fatal mistake. She hauled herself out of the pool, water dripping down her blazer, stomped toward the sheriff, and shoved him in the chest with both hands. The crowd gasped. My wife screamed, and the sheriff. He didn't flinch. He grabbed her wrists, spun her around, and snapped the handcuffs in place in one clean motion. You're under arrest for assaulting an officer, he said. His voice calm but firm. Karen shrieked, kicking and cursing as he marched her toward the SUV. This isn't over. I'll sue. I'll bring the entire HOA down on you. You'll regret this. But her words were drowned by the roar of cheers from my friends, my family, even the neighbors who once stayed silent. The sheriff returned after securing Karen in the car. He shook his head, almost chuckling. I've dealt with plenty of HOA nonsense in my time, but that woman takes the cake. I managed a tired smile. Thanks, Daniels. I didn't want it to end this way, but she left me no choice. He patted my shoulder. You did the right thing. Property rights are clear, and if she or the HOA tries anything else, you let me know. As the patrol SUV pulled away, carrying Karen's screams into the distance, the barbecue slowly came back to life. Music played again. My grandkids splashed in the pool, this time with laughter instead of fear. But as I sat there, watching the people I loved enjoying themselves, I knew this wasn't over. Because if Karen had one skill, it was holding grudges, and in part 3, she'd prove just how far she was willing to go. The night of the barbecue ended in cheers, but in the pit of my stomach, I knew Karen wasn't finished. Sure enough, just 3 days later, a thick envelope arrived in my mailbox. Inside was a stack of papers from the HOA signed by Karen before her arrest, banding that I pay $7,500 in fines for unauthorized pool ownership, non-compliance with HOA standards, and hostile conduct toward board members. I almost laughed. Almost. But then I saw the official stamp and my stomach turned. She had actually tried to bury me in paperwork before being carted off in handcuffs. My wife, always my anchor, looked at me with worried eyes. Honey, what if they push this? What if it costs us everything? I sat down, clutching the papers. Then we fight. Not with shouting, not with anger. We fight with the truth. 2 weeks later, I walked into the community center where the HOA board meeting was held. The room buzzed with chatter, neighbors sitting in folding chairs, whispering about the pool incident like it was some kind of neighborhood legend. And there she was, Karen, fresh out of jail. Dressed in another pastel suit, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown, she looked around the room as if she still ruled it. When she saw me, her lips curled into a smirk. Oh look, the pool thief. Ignored her and took my seat. My daughter squeezed my shoulder, whispering, Stay calm, Dad. Don't let her bait you. The meeting began. Karen stood at the podium, her voice loud and sharp. Ladies and gentlemen, our neighborhood is falling apart because of people like him. She pointed straight at me. Gasps filled the room. He flaunts the rules, mocks this association, and endangers the harmony of our community. He even called the police on me or HOA president. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. But then, something unexpected happened. A neighbor, Mrs. Wilson, who had always kept to herself, stood up. Her voice was shaky, but strong. No, Karen. You endangered this community. You trespassed. You scared children. You assaulted a police officer. You humiliated us. Karen's face went pale. You don't understand, but another neighbor rose. Then another, and another. One by one, people spoke. They talked about the fines she had unfairly issued, the threats, the bullying, the way she treated the neighborhood as her kingdom. And for the first time since I'd met her, Karen didn't look smug. She looked small. Finally, the board president, well, technically, Karen's title was acting president. since she had never been properly elected, called for a vote, all in favor of removing Linda from her position on the board. Hands shot up across the room. "Nearly every single one," Karen gasped. "What? You can't do this to me. I built this HOA. I am this HOA." But it was done. Her reign was over, as the crowd dispersed. Karen stormed toward me, her face red with rage and something else, desperation. "You think you've won? You think you're the hero here? You ruined me." I looked at her not with anger, but with something I hadn't expected. "Pity, Karen," I said quietly. "You ruined yourself. You let pride blind you. You let power destroy you. All I ever wanted was to live in peace." For a split second, her eyes softened, like a crack in armor. Like maybe, deep down, she knew I was right. But then she turned away, muttering curses under her breath as she shoved through the doors and disappeared into the night. Weeks passed. Life slowly returned to normal. The barbecue was remembered not for the chaos, but for the laughter, the food, the sheriff's unexpected arrival, and the way neighbors stood together. One evening, I sat by the pool, the glow of string lights reflecting in the water. My wife sat beside me, her hand resting gently on mine. "You know," she said softly, "this pool, it's more than just water. It's a reminder that no matter how hard people try to take away our peace, if we stand together, if we hold on to what really matters, family, truth, love, no one can take that from us." I smiled, my chest warm with gratitude. She was right. I looked around at my family, laughing and splashing, and whispered almost to myself, This is what home is meant to be." And in that moment, I knew Karen might have tried to seize my pool. But she only ended up teaching us all a lesson in standing your ground, a lesson in the power of community, and a lesson that pride will always fall to truth. So friends, tell me, have you ever dealt with an HOA or a neighbor who went too far? What did you do? Share your story in the comments below. Because sometimes the best lessons come not from the battles we win, but from the battles we survive together. This story is just the beginning. There is so much more ahead. Subscribe to the channel to join me on this journey.